There are three big problems with used vehicle appraisals. One, manually sifting through comp vehicles. Two, old book values and ghost comps. Three, no recon visibility. You can solve them all with AutoVision, launching in the Reynolds & Reynolds booth at NADA. Learn more at rayray.com/used-cars. That's REYREY.com/used-cars.
Want to dive deeper into the topics you hear about on Daily Drive? We're offering listeners a special offer, 20% off a 1-year Automotive News digital subscription. That gets you access to all of our news, information, and analysis made for automotive industry leaders like you. Go to autonews.com/Daily Drive promo to redeem. Welcome to this weekend drive edition of Daily Drive for the first week in February 2024. I'm Jamie Butters, Executive Editor of Automotive News.
And I'm Kellen Walker. Hello from the 2024 NADA show here in Las Vegas. Today we're breaking down some of the biggest stories in the auto industry from the past week and looking forward to what's in store in days ahead. In a few minutes, we'll hear from our own Dan Shine and the auto retail attorney Leonard Bellavia about the biggest issues being discussed at NADA this week.
I think dealers really need to rewrite the playbook on compensation for talented people.
But first, Jamie, welcome back to Las Vegas. This is like the 100th time I've seen you this year, and we're only in February.
It's crazy.
So let's get started. So I remember a conversation you and I had almost 2 years ago about Toyota being late to the EV party. Now this week, we reported that Toyota's global sales of electric vehicles more than quadrupled. Is it paying off for Toyota for sitting back and waiting to see how the EV market shook out before going all in? I mean, this is a company that in 2018 sold one EV, and now they've sold 104,000 EVs worldwide. I think that's a pretty good leap, right?
It's a baby step, really, for such a giant company. 100,000 is a nice number, but it is, less than 1% of Toyota's output last year. So pretty modest steps. And are they still behind where they should be? It kind of depends, right? It's very hard to make money on EVs. And so that's been a big factor in their calculus all along. And what they haven't had to do is dial back some ambitions, which we've had to see from a lot of other automakers that thought, this is going to keep going 50, 70% growth every year. And it's a little more complicated than that, especially during these years where the supply chain's being rebuilt and trying to figure out the battery chemistry and get a lot more efficient.
So it pays to be slow and steady.
Sometimes.
There we go. And Jamie, this week, a political consultant, Mike Murphy, joined the show. You and him both spoke on how politics affect EV adoption.
Democrats, by 15 points, rate them more favorable than unfavorable electric car brands. Republicans give them a 9% favorable rating and a 49% unfavorable rating. 40 points underwater. There's a 55-point gulf on only electric car brands. There's a little bit on Japanese brands, but nothing compared to this over EVs.
Politics is part of someone's core values and beliefs, right? But has it gone too far with EVs becoming part of the political argument?
Well, it's certainly not helpful for automakers or for auto dealers. Like we were talking about yesterday on the show, there are a lot of dealers who feel the Biden administration is pushing too hard, too fast on EVs, especially the EPA. But to have half of their customers reject this type of a product up front is very challenging. It's really no way to run a mass market industry like this.
Interesting. It makes sense. Now, Jamie, we're here at NADA, and our presence here, Automotive News presence here, has been a lot different before. This is my first time here. What does this mean to you?
We have this great new booth. We're right in the middle of the floor, and as part of our booth, there's meeting areas and work areas, but we also have a studio. It's like a TV type studio. It looks like the Today Show or something. Yeah. We're right in the middle of the floor with these glass walls around us. There's a cool little on-air sign. I am going to be here almost the entire next 2 days. We're doing the LinkedIn Live. We've got a bunch of interviews stacked up, meeting with retailers, analysts and advisors, consultants, brand chiefs. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy weekend. Coming up, Automotive News Senior Editor Dan Shine and auto retail attorney Leonard Bellavia joins the show here on the floor of NADA 2024. That's next on Weekend Drive.
Data is the backbone of your used vehicle department. You need it to find accurate comp sets and to best understand your market in order to make precise appraisal and pricing decisions. But it feels like you're always struggling to get the information you need. How much time do you spend sifting through comps because there are outliers that don't match the vehicle you're appraising? Do you frequently make manual adjustments to pricing recommendations? Reynolds' newest inventory management solution, AutoVision, can help. AJ McGowan, president and founder of AutoVision, explains how.
If you look at the way that cars are traditionally priced, you can get down to specifics in terms of, what zip code is it in and, what options does it have on it, some of those sorts of things. But the thing that's never really taken into account is, that dealer's, specific view of the market. Our goal with AutoVision was to use, technology that's available now to do real-time processing, which allows dealers to really set their view of the market into AutoVision. And then we use our tools to analyze the data that's there and show them this is what this vehicle is worth to you.
AutoVision can help you run your used vehicle department with precise comp sets, real-time inventory data, and reconditioning insights. Visit rayray.com/used-cars to find out more. That's rey.com/used-cars.
Welcome back to Weekend Drive. I'm Jamie Butters with Kellen Walker. Consolidation, digital retail, Hyundai's partnership with Amazon. These are just some of the big topics we're hearing here on the floor of the NADA show this week in Las Vegas. And some of the subjects we dug into on a live conversation on LinkedIn yesterday with Automotive News senior editor Dan Shine and auto retail attorney Leonard Bellavia. Here's a piece of that conversation.
M&A market that's been white hot. It's been, maybe not as great in 2023, but still pretty robust. And it seems like in 2024 we've already got a couple of big deals going. How do you see it so far going, and what does 2024 look like?
See, I think that the common misconception is that the boom is over and therefore dealers, they missed the boat on the value of their dealer. That's not the case. What's happened is I think the more astute dealers have said, I'm a retirement age. Maybe they said this in 2020 or 2021. Let's say they're 75 to 80. They said, I really should be selling, but I can't sell because I'm making too much money.
Yeah.
So, they made a business decision, and I think it was an astute business decision, and that is, let me enjoy the profits. So even though my blue sky value may go down in 2024 and 2025, I've kind of collected my blue sky value before I sold. So even though theoretically, not even in reality, but theoretically blue sky values may be lower in 2024, and there's a footnote to that I'll explain. What's the difference? So if their blue sky value is down 20%, so what? They made millions of dollars in the past 3 years. But the reality is, a lot of people that were in that boat that are now saying, all right, the bloom is off the rose, maybe now I'll sell. There are more buyers out there. There aren't as many listings as buyers would like, so the values are kind of still up there. Maybe not as high, but younger people that are coming into the business are willing to kind of throw the book away and overpay for dealerships, because it doesn't matter to them if they don't get the return on investment in the traditional 5 years. They'll wait 7 or 8 years, because if they're 40 years old, what's the difference whether they make the return back in 5 years or 8 years? So sellers they really did not miss the boat. They got the best of both worlds.
It's just like you said, the demand is still so strong. You've got these strategic players like Lithia and I guess Asbury now too, and that are all trying to get bigger and buy stores. But you have a lot of just like Wall Street money that doesn't know where to go, and they've seen the proof. Good times and bad times, dealerships make money, so they want to invest in it. You've got private equity, you've got entrepreneurs who are like, maybe I have to overpay, but I can build generational wealth with this business. And so there's just still unrelenting demand.
Well, the sweet spot, I don't think it's out there yet, brokers know it, the sweet spot really is the general manager. The general manager who has access to a private investor. Because the big buyers of past, certainly Lithia is a credible buyer, and all these other public companies, they're very credible, but they're more formulaic in their approach to evaluating a dealership. So although they'll overpay a little bit, there's a limit to it. A young entrepreneur who is very capable and who the factory really likes working with is the top candidate for it, as long as that general manager can find a deep-pocketed investor, and they are out there. Wall Street is out there looking for very talented young people. So they, in my opinion, they are the next wave of buyers because they are the ones that are more willing to pay more than the so-called multiple formula says they should be paying. So I think we'll see a lot of young people coming in through the ranks now, and manufacturers love that. They like young energy and capable people who are on the front lines.
What speed bumps or potential kind of challenges do you see out there for the M&A market, the buy-sell market in 2024 that maybe will slow things down a little bit, if possible?
Well, manufacturer involvement in the buy-sell process is always something that needs to be reckoned with. Manufacturers have something called a right of first refusal, where they receive a buy-sell and then they get this right 30-day window, typically, to step in the shoes of the buyer, and they kind of upset the transaction. There are ways around that. A skillful buy-sell attorney can address that, but that's a potential wrinkle. Sellers are less concerned about it unless they have multiple dealerships in their group, because then manufacturers will try and pick off one or two of them under the right of first refusal. So that's a structural problem that is present in any buy-sell over the past, I'd say, 5 to 7 years. But factory approvability, you want to make sure that even if you're a very good dealer that has multiple stores, that you have excellent customer satisfaction scores, because that's something that rises to the top in the underwriting, so to speak, of an approval. Manufacturer wants to see that you're keeping consumers happy, that you are progressive in the way you're selling cars, that you're meeting your metrics, your performance metrics, and that generally dovetails in with digital selling, making sure your dealership is in step with what's going on in the marketplace in terms of social media sales, having lead referral sources in place, recruiting talented people. That gets into the whole issue that I know, Jamie, you've been writing about recruiting good people and trying to keep talented people on payroll, and you got to really make sure that they're happy. The people that are very talented in social media and digital selling are also the very same people who put quality of life, work-life balance in the top of the totem pole. So you got to be able to find those people and keep them happy, which means don't work them 70 hours a week like some of the old-time dealers are accustomed to setting their time schedule. You get one Sunday off every other week. That doesn't cut it anymore.
Yeah, yesterday at Retail Forum, that just kept coming up again and again. Workers want flexibility. They know they're going to make money working hard in the auto industry, but they want to be able to live some life as well, not be just single-minded about racking up hours and trying to ring the bell.
Well, the biggest expense in a dealership is really turnover and then retraining people. That cuts a deep hole into the profitability of the dealership if you don't have consistency in your staff. So I think dealers really need to rewrite the playbook on compensation for talented people. Of course, there has to be some give and take on the amount of hours per week, but compensation, I always say to dealers, if you have a good salesperson, throw away the book. You got to make sure this person makes a lot of money because he's making you a lot of money.
Yeah.
Dealers, and I've been dealing with this for 35 years, they see somebody making a lot of money and they try and figure out a way to weed him out. If he's making a lot of money, it's translating upstream. You're making the same money in terms of potential multiples of that salary.
Yeah.
So dealers have to embrace people like that, not cut them out. So if you find somebody good that has a future, work closely with them, pay them generously, it'll pay dividends over the long haul. So I think that's just kind of a reinvention of the mindset of the human resources department at dealerships.
But like you said, it's also, you want to keep them and keep working them, but you've got to also make sure they are taking care of themselves so they can keep making money for you for years to come.
Yeah, you got to, I see it in my profession too. It's not as easy.
It's always been
the turnaround in the professional services business is great. You can't expect people to work, more than 45 hours a week without, compensating them heavily. And, the other side of the coin is happy employees, because they have good work-life balance, translates into better productivity. I'm not so sure this is legal advice, but it kind of is really, because I think it
charges $150.
No, it's this is a freebie.
Perfect.
Happy employees mean better productivity, and dealers have to take a page from other industries and say, all right, it's time to pay salespeople less on commission, a higher salary, still have a hybrid formula, but make sure that they're getting compensated, they're getting trained, that they know that they're appreciated, because it seems that salespeople are always in the back of the automotive news looking for the next best opportunity, and that's not the way you want to have your sales staff spend their time.
Len Bellavia is a senior partner at the Bellavia Blatt law firm. He spoke with me and our own Dan Shine on the floor here at the NADA show in Las Vegas. You can watch the full conversation on the Automotive News LinkedIn page. That's all for this weekend drive edition of Daily Drive. I'm Jamie Butters.
And I'm Kellen Walker. Thanks to Automotive News coordinating producer Jake Neer for his help on today's podcast. You can get the latest news on the NADA show, technology, and everything happening in the auto industry at autonews.com.
Come back on Monday for a conversation with Toyota Motor North America's head of sales, Jack Hollis.
We believe we are speeding along. We are investing heavily. If you think of $14 billion are being spent right now in North Carolina to create multiple lines, to create hybrid engines, plug-in hybrid engines, and all electric engines, that's a lot of dough. That's $14 billion with a B right now, one plant.
If you enjoy the podcast, remember to like, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.